Hi, I'm Gary Smith. A question that students of political order might be asked is, what is the proper size and scale of a political order? Dr. Livingston expressed in his videos that depends on what we think is the function of a political order. The political order in Athens was to achieve human excellence, which for ancient Greece maxed out at about 300,000 citizens. Going along with this is, how does scale factor into a government's ability to effectively operate and meet the needs of its population? If, for example, a Hobbesian political order with a constitution and checks and balances within its governing center was not operating effectively and not meeting the needs of its people, then it might be time to adjust size and scale. The population size of the U.S. government is approximately 332 million. We've proved as a nation that Hobbesian political order that is based on a constitution with checks and balances can defend and provide civil rights to its citizens. However, could we continue to be a free nation if we were to have a population of, say, 1 billion people? Will we eventually need to divide the nation up into sovereign sections as George Kennan envisioned in 1993? Some have suggested that the nation could be split up into sovereign, southern, northern, midwestern, and western sections. There are a lot of issues into formulating how that could come about. Would it be done by a constitutional convention? What about national defense? How would we split up our national nuclear arsenal, for example? There are a lot of bad actors out there who would likely want to do us harm in the middle of doing something like that. The South before the Civil War, according to Charles Adams, author of Human Events, arguing for the case for Southern secession, was being financially decimated by Northern tariffs. The South's course of action, following David Hume's theory that federated republics could secede, opted for secession as a solution. In the 19th century, secession of a purported sovereign state was generally accepted as right. Charles Adams, the author, followed the lost cause narrative that slavery was not the cause of secession and the Civil War. He said tariffs were. Southern Humean secession collided with Hobbesian Abraham Lincoln's position that states were not sovereign. On March the 4th, 1861, Lincoln, in his first inaugural address, stated, "I hold that in contemplation of universal law and of the Constitution, the union of these states is perpetual. Perpetuity is implied, if not expressed, in the fundamental law of all national government." Lincoln said, "It is safe to assert that no government proper ever had a provision in its organic law for its own termination." James Ronald Kennedy and Walter Donald Kennedy, twin brothers, have written a book entitled "The South Was Right." However, the Kennedy brothers maintain that presently, in order to have a society that truly reflects the will of the people, the doctrines of nullification and secession need to be reestablished. The brothers maintain that if the people of a state decide that an employer may refuse to hire a man dressed and made up as a woman, that privilege is now subject to review by the Federal Department of Justice and the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. The Kennedy brothers maintain that the doctrine of nullification would right the ship, so to speak. In spite of being a Southerner with Confederates in my gene pool, I do not think the South was right, but that is based on hindsight. No telling what I would have thought and done if I'd been a young man who had lived in the South in the Civil War. I participated in the Vietnam War, which is now largely deemed as a mistake. But in this present day and age, I accept Colonel Ty Seidul's Hobbesian viewpoint in his book, Robert E. Lee and Me, A Southerner's Reckoning with the Myth of the Lost Cause, that after years of studying the Confederacy, he blames slavery as the cause of the Civil War. He makes a striking indictment that the Civil War left between 650,000 and 750,000 dead because the humane Confederate leadership fought to create a slave republic based on a morally bankrupt ideology of white supremacy. A damning indictment, if true. Thank you very much.